Welcome back, everybody. Work on X231 continues, as you just saw. I've sandblasted the inside and the outside of the radiator top tank, and I've got it firmly in the fixture on the milling machine table here. And sorry, I've got a bit of a head cold going on, so I'm going to sound kind of off today, but everything has been squared, plumbed, verified that it's as flat as we can get it here. I'm really happy with how everything looks. So the first step toward taking those 6 broken off bolts out involved me grinding them flush with the surface. Okay, that's the first step. You want to have something you can center up to very well and start drilling the hole. And I threw this little 5/16 stub into this chuck here because my strategy for centering the spindle over these broken off bolts, and I'll just use this one back here as an example. I'm just going to align this with the part that's still sticking out, so we can crank it in, get it close, and then we can adjust, do like a side to side, and then once we're pretty well centered up with it, we can align like that. Then I'll just withdraw it, and we'll get the appropriate drilling tool put in place and drill our holes. And like I said last time, for the top tank here, we're going to be doing helicoils in these broken off holes, okay? Because it doesn't even pay to try to get just the bolt out and save the hole. And the reason I'm doing a helicoil and not an insert, you can see it on these cast bosses back here. In an ideal world, you want to have your bolt hole perfectly centered up with that boss. But you see like how far off to the edge this one is, and this one, and this one. I can't afford to oversize any of these holes very far. Otherwise, I'll be right out the edge of that, and then we'll be into the water. So that's a double bad scenario because you'll have a compromised structure trying to hold your insert, and it's a potential leak path. So helicoils, a lot of people don't like them. That's come up a couple times in the comment section under the last episode. Personally, I've never had a bad experience with one. I guess the only downside of them, they do tend to twist out with a bolt when you take a rusted bolt out. In that case, I just clean the hole and throw a new one in. But the inserts I've got over here, they are solid. I've got kind of the intermediate diameter, which requires you have to take that hole out to a 1/2 by 13. I've even got the thin walled versions, but these still require a 7/16 by 14 hole, and I don't have the material to work with here. So we're doing helicoil because I can get away with the smallest oversized hole. When we get to the bottom bolster, material is not a problem because we've got heavy, solid, thick cast that we're working with here. I also sandblasted this yesterday while I had everything outside, so we've got that nice and clean. We'll do a Gliptol coating in there. So that's the whole setup. Time to get to work. Let's start drilling. So first we find our center. Bit of trial and error here. Just go until everything lines up. Check it. Getting close. Check it. Take a look from the other side. Yep, that vantage point agrees as well. So we'll start with a pilot bit. Until we break through, which happened right there. Vacuum's fine, maybe. Most likely. Okay. This is our depth indicator. Yes, we are through the bolt. So with the pilot hole established, that's going to help our main diameter bit quite a lot. This is going to take us out to the finished hole diameter, which is going to prep it for the helicoil tap. And don't be afraid if you see a lot of rust, dust, stuff like that coming out with the chips. we've got a lot of it that's locking all those threads together, and you can't really avoid it either. So we may end up doing a retouch on this bit a couple of times before we make it through all the holes, because that rust will dull anything pretty fast. I can see that brown stuff coming out already. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to stop right here, check my work, make sure everything looks on center. Yep, I can just pick up perimeter of bolt all the way around. Looks like we're centered up well, right where I want to be. Okay, so I want to stop right here and have a good look at what's going on in the bottom of the hole. I know we're not as far as we need to go yet, but I'll pull the bit out so that we can open this up, have a little bit better look, because what I just saw roll out, I think I can dig it out here. Yep. That's the end of our old bolt right there, okay? Where the pilot had chewed a hole through the center, and then when the bit hooked it, I heard kind of a funny screech, and the next thing you know, this flew out and landed in the tank. But always pays to have a good look around, see what's going on. So, all right. Let's have a look after we clean it out. Oh, shut up. Yeah, you're not happy, I know. Okay, you can see we've still got, we're on top of the main diameter hole that we've just drilled, and now we jump down to the bottom. That's how much deeper we have left to go. So definitely pays to have a good look from time to time. You don't want to poke all the way through the bottom. All right, that should bring us down to where I want it to be. And I can tell by the noise that the bit is making that it is ready to be resharpened. But whenever you're cutting through rusty old threads like this, you're going to dull them pretty quickly. And I think that screech that peeled the bottom of that old bolt out didn't help matters any either. So yep, we're down to the bottom of the hole, liking it. Visual inspection, so if we can align the light with the mirror, we can get a good look at our drilling, and you can see how the shiny material is a nice even perimeter around the darker original borehole. So having everything flat this way, and locked onto the table keeps you a lot squarer and more true than you could ever do by hand. So as long as we're still centered with the chuck above the hole, I'm going to take this this centering puck, and we can throw that into the chuck. I'll tighten that in just a second, but for now I'll show you why I put that in there. So the helicoil tap has the indent in the end of it, so we can start the tap in and we can run the chuck down, and that centering puck will keep the tap perfectly square so that we can initiate the new threads, and everything will stay nice and true. Once we get like a couple turns on this, it'll be self-guiding after that. As the tap goes down, I'm just making sure the chuck keeps pace with it. All right. Back the chip. Do a test. All right. Yep, we're doing just fine now. All right, we found the bottom one more time. Okay. Yep, looking very good. So that's the process. Before we put any of the inserts in, we need to get all of these bolts drilled and every hole threaded, prepping it for the insert. The inserts will actually be like one of the very last steps, even after we end up rehabbing the surface right here. The inserts can be kind of hard, so we don't put those in until we're happy with the whole rest of the tanks. So 1 down, 5 more to go. You know the process. We'll just hit the high spots from here on out. There, in the spirit of not talking too soon, I wanted to make sure I got the final tap through the last threaded hole that needed to be cleaned up on this whole tank. So yeah, we've got everything ready for the inserts, and I just finished cleaning the threads on all of the other original 5/16 by 18 holes. I got to clean this out real quick. Wait for the noisy vacuum. So the next step, get you all off the pole, is going to be flattening this gasket surface a bit before we throw any of those inserts in. As I mentioned a minute ago, we've got some rust that has crept in, and you can see we're pretty flat for the most part toward the outside and around the holes, but these actually go pretty deep. So we don't need to take so much material off that this looks like brand new. We just need to take a little bit of that out and just clean it up, help that gasket out a little bit. So put you all back real quick so I can free up my hands. I'll show you. This is what we're going to use, or at least we're going to try this. Just picked it up the other day, cutter with the matching mandrel, arbor, whatever you want to call it. So it's good and sharp. Let's see how it works. Okay, everybody, I've got it set according to this spot right here. It's kind of my lowest, most corroded point, and I'm still not set to go all the way down to the bottom of this one. I am going to sneak up on it, because if I set my cut really deep right here, I'm committed to do all the rest of it at the same depth. So even if I have to make a couple passes and just sneak it down, that's the way I prefer to do it, at least until I kind of feel it out and get a little bit more familiar with how this is going to perform. So little bites, incremental. Let's just play around with it, see what happens. Okay everybody, now that the milling is finally complete, we can throw the threaded inserts into the prepared holes. Because now we know how far the depths need to be, where to position them. Watch that tail. I want to just get it down. Yep, so it's firmly into one of the pre-cut threads. Do a test fit all the way down to the bottom. We start the next insert onto the installing tool and repeat. Well everybody, typically I never apply any kind of a painted coating to any surface that has to do with the cooling system, because that will inhibit heat transfer to an extent. But I'm making an exception for X231 because A, this tractor is never going to have to do any hard work. If I was going to be out flogging it in the field with a plow and a disc all the time, you know, pulling hard, we'd be leaving this just bare, and I would be getting maximum heat transfer even out of the top tank. But considering Minneapolis Marine did put this sealant coating in their bottom tanks, and this top tank will never be this clean again, now's the time to get it coated. Plus, knowing Christine as well as I do, I'm sure she's right at home with heat, fire, and the like. I just get that vibe. So we'll make it all nice and coated on the inside. And here it is, everybody. We put a lot of work into it, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. Like I said, when we started milling, this was our worst and our deepest spot right here. And we didn't get 100% of it out. We got a little bit for pitting left, but we've renewed the gasket surface plenty well enough so that we can get a good seal on there again. And I didn't realize how deep some of those pits were because I started taking light cuts, and I went around a couple times and I'm like, wow, we're not even starting to get down to the pits yet. You can see over here about how much I had to take. That's about 50 thousandths, that step right there. So not insignificant. 1.27 millimeters, I believe, is what that shakes out to. But we've got good holes all the way around, ready to accept bolts. Nice clip tall coating on the inside. Exterior's looking good as well. So that was the easy one. This one's going to be a bit more difficult. We've got a lot more material to work with here, whereas we had some thin spots in the casting up there that we had to kind of beware of. But we'll just see what happens. I don't know if that's going to be too heavy for our cheap milling machine over here. First thing we need to do is clear these old brackets, and then we'll start setting up for the bolster, and we'll see how this thing acts. So I'm not against possibly having someone else do the milling on that one after I perform all the thread repair. If it seems like that's going to be a little bit much for our machine, we'll cross that bridge when we get there next time. And truth be told, what I did in this episode for broken bolt removal was probably what we should have done on that bolster to begin with several years ago. But at that time, we didn't even have that cheap milling machine. We had center punches, drill bits, and some taps, and we were doing the best with what we had. And
I'd love to have like a really nice, very capable Bridgeport style. It'll happen eventually. Baby steps will work into it. So still growing the channel a little bit every month. It's a good thing. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Like I said last time, plenty more work yet to come. Time to get busy on the other piece. Hope to see y'all back again.